This is absolute bliss. It's just so nice. You just don't get this in cars anymore. I've never felt more relaxed driving a car than in this Citroen C6. It is absolutely phenomenal in the ride quality department. And obviously since 2017, the hydro pneumatic suspension that this car is running on has gone. It does not exist in any car, the C5 being the last car to have it. And what a shame. This is one of the few cars that you don't even have to drive, you just have to be in it to understand what it's about. That supreme, wafty comfort. So yes, ostensibly it's a mid-size executive or large executive car, but it's so much more than that. It's so different. It's so very Citroen. So the C6 was designed to go up against cars like the BMW 5 Series, the Mercedes E-Class and the Audi A6. It's the executive car, but for all intents and purposes, it just didn't go up against those cars. Nobody who bought one of these was even really thinking about buying a 5 Series or an E-Class. They wanted this car because it's a very unique proposition, and in the end, they hardly sold any of them. They sold 1,000 in the UK total over its whole life, from 2005 up until 2012. 1,000 cars, and I'm in one of them right now. Worldwide, they sold 23,000 of them. I don't remember the last time I saw one. For me, already, I'm really happy to be behind the wheel of this car because it's just rare and it's cool. You see, Citroen, they've been known for building cars like this ever since the DS and then the SM, the CX, and this really is the final chapter in that line. It's already a classic looking car. It's so unique. The swoopy shape, the sort of convex rear screen, which is apparently designed to stop water getting on it, but it doesn't really work. It looks kind of like a hatchback, but it isn't. It's a saloon, which of course all self-respecting executive cars are. Nobody wants that extra noise from the rear, the hatch. I think it's a stunning looking car, and it's so unique. The front overhang, which, you know, on some designs might be a little bit much, on this car it's just great. The whole car, it just kind of looks like some futuristic but also retro spaceship. It's got the frameless doors, the windows have no frame around them, and that's something that is always so very cool. You just feel so cool in it. I don't know, maybe that's just me, maybe other people just look at it and they just see an old French car and they don't even know what it is or care. Citroen actually wanted to get the C6 out by the year 2000, and it didn't come out until 2005, 5 years later. So they discontinued the XM, which this car is the replacement for, and then there was 5 years where nobody could buy a brand new big wafty Citroen. It was based on the Lineage. I presume it's Lineage. It looks like Lignage, but it's French, so it must be Lignage. Or concept car, which actually I think this car did end up looking a lot like that concept car. The interior of this car is, let's say, unique. I'm not sure it's the C6's absolute strong point in terms of design. The center console is absolutely just coated with buttons, and it really is quite confusing. The volume control for the radio is a real stretch to reach because it's on the left-hand side. Now, I think that is because on a left-hand drive car, it would be nice and close. The Brits were always an afterthought. And they all control this screen up at the top. For an old car, for an old screen, it's really nice. The way they've done the graphics, it's quite subtle and relaxing and in a dark mode kind of way. So you've got this brushed metal design in the back of the screen. You can actually adjust with this button here, and it tilts slightly backwards, and it seems completely pointless. I assume that maybe on a very sunny day, it'll stop the sun reflecting. Otherwise, it's just like another electronic sort of motor in there for no reason other than to be complicated. In front of me, I've got this really neat little screen which tells you all of your normal information like revs and speed and fuel and stuff, but it's in a very interesting digital format. Now, above that is the head-up display, which this car had as standard. I was expecting something pretty ropey and rubbish, but this is actually a really good implementation of a head-up display. It doesn't have a little flat piece of glass sticking out of the dash, which kind of to me means it's not really a head-up display because there's something there that you're looking at. It genuinely is just in the screen. Yes, it looks like an alarm clock from the 1980s. The quality of everything inside is a bit of a mixture. You've got like really nice wood panels which seem like really glossy and shiny and high quality. This plastic like ashtray down here is just like really awful feeling. The cup holders are quite cool. They're kind of like Saab-like in the design. They look very flimsy and narrow and possibly like they would break, but they haven't broken on this car. As always, the glove box is kind of half the size you would expect because half of it's filled with fuses. The door pockets here, which are like no door pocket on any car I've ever seen, are damped and go down, obviously for packaging reasons, because I'm sat in these enormous, massive armchairs. So in addition to the utterly blissful ride comfort, this car does have some very comfortable leather seats in it, which are infinitely adjustable on the door panel here. But I have to say, coupled with that suspension, it is an absolute phenomenal cruiser. I'm just going to pull in here and we'll see what it's like in the back of the C6. What do you reckon, backseat JJ? Oh, well, I'm basically French President Emmanuel Macaroni, aren't I? I think you mean Macron. Yeah, or Jacques Chirac, Nicolas Sarkozy. Yeah. Yeah, they all got driven around in this car. One of these black Citroen C6s, and I'm sure they would have also had, like this car, the lounge pack, which means that you get rear heated seats. I've got this armrest here which comes out with the ski hatch. Honestly, if this car wasn't right-hand drive, I would suspect that it might actually be Macaroni's car, because it's got heated seats in the back and not in the front. So for once in my life, I am more cosseted than JJ is. Very comfortable, relaxing, and kind of like a nice view from back here as well. Obviously, of course, I've got my own little cigarette lighter. The French president would want to be smoking his cigars back here, and I can also control the climate control. I've got auto, I can change the fan speed. There's actually 2 cigarette lighter sockets. I've got the same cool little trick door bins back here as well. Little ashtrays in the door. And then I'm reminded of all the airbags, because there's airbags back up here, there's airbags down here, there's airbags up there. Got something like 9 airbags in it as standard, and it was a 5-star Euro NCAP. And it was also the first ever 4-star pedestrian safety rating in any car ever, and they managed that by putting pyrotechnics under the bonnet that pops it up when you hit a pedestrian, and it keeps their head away from the engine block. You've got a nice soft bonnet to land on. Anyway, JJ, if it's good enough for the French president, it's good enough for me. Big fan of this car. So yeah, thanks for getting something like this on. Oh, sweet. Cheers, mate. This car is a 2010 with the 2.2 litre diesel, which is a later engine that they put in this car. The weakest, slowest engine, but it's still, it's still a diesel, turbo diesel, so performance is all right. It suits the car. It's very smooth actually, and it's got enough torque to accelerate this quite hefty car, 1,800 kilograms of car, along with reasonable pace. The 2.7 diesel is basically the same engine that you get in the Jaguars of the time. They later on got rid of that and put in a 3-litre diesel, so they actually went bigger, which is very unusual. As we know these days, everything trends downwards. If you really wanted the ultimate in silky smooth comfort with no regard to fuel economy, then there was a 3-litre V6 petrol, which would have been very nice, I imagine. The 6-speed automatic gearbox, which was in most of these cars, is really good. Obviously it's not sporty, it's not like reactive and quick to change or anything, but you just can't really tell that it's changing gear. Now you could actually get this car with a manual. I mean, they stopped selling it as a manual in 2008, so they must be very rare, those cars, and I'm not sure it would add anything to the experience. That said, there is a manual mode in this car, down a gear by pulling the gear towards me and up a gear by pushing it away. So that suspension, the Hydractive 3 Plus, was the very last of the line for Citroen's hydrogen pneumatic suspension, which essentially was built using these little orbs of liquid in the engine bay. You can see them on top of the strut tower, and that is what gives this car that ride. Because it's computer controlled, it's always adjusting based on what speed you're doing, what acceleration, what you're doing with the steering wheel, cornering and so on. If you want to take control of it, you can also raise the car right up to some ridiculous ride height, and it looks hilarious because this car obviously isn't an SUV. It looks like a big saloon car, which it is, and it looks really funny when it's high up on its suspension. And of course you can also lower it, hunker it right down, and then it just looks really cool and sleek and like the concept car that it was based on. In addition to that, you've got a sport mode, which put it in sport mode now actually and see what that does to the ride quality. Yeah, it's gotten firmer. I mean, it's by no means firm. It's still better than some Audi S-Line or Mercedes AMG or something. What it seems to have done actually is bring out the inherent rattles within this interior. I guess if you want to helmsman this car around, you can. It's not that bad. It's a wafty barge, but the steering's quite nice. It turns in quite sharply. And because this car's actually got ridiculous 245 section wide tyres on it all round and 18-inch wheels, despite the fact that it's still got a considerable chunk of rubber beyond that, yeah, this car feels grippy. It feels all right. To try and describe the ride quality as to what it actually does differently, it feels like what it does is it completely smooths out the smaller imperfections in the road. So it turns any kind of normal road surface into kind of a very glassy, smooth surface. But if you do hit a bigger pothole or defect in the road, it will crash through it like any other car will. Once it hits that limit of what it can handle, it's like, that's it. You're back to kind of like normal. If you're thinking about buying one of these cars, first of all, buy one, because it's just, if you are the sort of person who finds this car interesting or attractive, you will love it. But obviously just be aware that it's a very complicated car. It's got a lot of electronics in it, and it's got very complicated suspension. So I'm not going to go through and list all the things that can go wrong. Obviously there are things that can go wrong with this car. Do look at a buyer's guide. Do your due diligence. Do your due diligence. Do all the D's, and make sure you try and find a car that's been looked after, which I presume most of these will have been looked after, because who buys this car and then, just uses it as a daily driver they don't look after or care about? Probably no one. I honestly think it'd be a stress-free world if everyone drove a car like this. If everyone had got to work on a silky smooth cloud of a ride, I just don't think they'd be angry. I just think you'd be chill. Yes, you can go and do yoga, and you can meditate, and you can try and work on your anger issues, or you can just buy a Citroen C6. It's a bit of a recurring theme, really, with filming car reviews of older cars, that it always seems to be the last of something, and that's us petrol heads being very romantic and sad and boo-hoo about things. But it is the case that times are moving on, and this is the last of the proper Citroens, if that's what you want to call a Citroen. It's not a Stellantis-owned product that's basically the same as all the other Stellantis-owned products. But that doesn't matter too much, because for now at least, they've not all been forced off the road by the government. You can pick these cars up for not all that much money. What do you think about this car? Please do comment down below. Do you think it's a cool and interesting car, or do you just think it's old French tat? Do let us know. A massive thank you to James for lending me this car. He's also got a Citroen DS as well, so this is like his modern, a little bit more daily drivery kind of version of that DS. Of course, if you've got an interesting or even not interesting car, but you like it, just email me and we'll see if we can get a review of it on this channel. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.